Hello, everyone. It's me, Dan Malott, and this is for those of you that don't like reading as much as you do listening, or perhaps both, whichever. So, I will walk you through this blog, audio blog, a log, something. Anyway, this is our chapter on beasts of burden, uh, scales of a dragon, and the sacred yes. So again, this is all about education. So please, if you are not in the field, consider how your education went, considering what things you might change looking back. But let's get into it right away. So we always promise, or I always promise, to connect philosophy to education reform and creativity in some way. So today we talk about Friedrich Nietzsche and his contribution to philosophy and how it plays out to educational reform, and of course how creativity and innovation fit into all that. So the question is, the question is put out there, when do I decide that shaking my hand in the air was a good way to indicate non-verbally that that's how I say hello or goodbye? Was it because it's efficient? Do I model it after a dog wagging its tail? It seems kind of odd to do that, but what about uh, what about a flag? Maybe it was a flag we were looking at. Or did I even decide that, or did someone actually have me think that waving my hand was a good idea? What else do I do that I didn't choose? If waving my hand is not something I chose to do, but I still do it, what else is there? And what if I stop shaking my hands all around from here on out? How could I possibly say goodbye without speaking if I don't flail my hand about? Do I use my foot? Maybe my foot will work. I don't know. I get to slap feet with people. I'm going to do that from now on. That's it. I will now shake my foot hello and goodbye, and I will slap my foot against other people's feet for the rest of my days. Done. How could this possibly go wrong? Right. Well, this seems kind of nonsensical. I get that because of the path I took and the strange internal dialogue that I've unfortunately give you access to at this moment. But it's not so Alice in Wonderlandian. I made up that word. If we think about it in the context of, hey, maybe there's no good reason why we do these things. And to be clear, no one's asking you to stop flailing your extremities around in excitement to communicate non-verbally. No, no, absolutely keep at it. In fact, what the heck? This is one of the things we have left in common with our primate friends out there. This discussion simply asks, are you doing things, making daily choices that were prescribed to you by a system that demands efficiency? Have we actually challenged the things out there to make sure that the things that we do lead us toward the higher goals we have for ourselves? Or do you care? Okay, so if you're not familiar with these types of questions, the the philosophical tie comes in from our friend Friedrich Nietzsche. Specifically, I'm referring to his best known work, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. It's too much to get into here, so I need to invite you to go listen to the greatest philosopher, digester, and resharer of our time, Stephen West. Stephen West brought me back to the philosophy that got me through my education and my formative educational years before I was trained. Training meaning something we do to people, whereas learning is something we do ourselves. It's heuristic, it's constructive. And when I was picking up philosophy, I was learning, and I let it go, and I became trained, and I was a good teacher by most metrics. My kids would tell you I was a good teacher. People speak highly of me. They send me letters. They let me know that things were fantastic. They've gone on to do wonderful things using what I've taught them. Things I've done are well, but I was trained to be exact. I used my will when I could, but most of the things I did were pretty well canned. So I ask you to take a look. I've shared the link down here um, to Stephen West's page. He runs the world's best podcast, in my opinion, on sharing philosophical thoughts called Philosophize This. If you just put into Google or whichever search engine you subscribe to, Philosophize This, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, you'll get there. Okay? So, if you can get there, have a listen. Listen to Thus Spoke Zarathustra and the explanations. Think about as you listen how it pertains to what we're doing in creativity and what we do in education, how we can challenge what we know. While you're there, go find Simone de Beauvoir. She is the next up on our list. But for now, stick with this one. Okay, let's recap. If you listened to all that, and I just paused for you to do that, then you realize that we were all born camels, beasts of burden, given all sorts of things to carry that we didn't choose, that make up the vast majority of the things that we do each day. And if you listen to the podcast, you now get that whole hand gesture thing I just brought up. I stole that right out of there. The point is, we didn't really choose these things, we just do them. Clearly, we can choose not to do them, but will we? Will we try? But this is it. This is the first step we want to take in transforming, dare I say, transcending. We need to challenge the weights that have been placed on your back as a camel. To bring this back to education, because there's no way we get stuck in all the personal things about to happen to you if you do this existential work. We need to question the things about your current understanding of education, your cultural understanding, your local education. Where are you at? What's going on in your school? I know this is complicated given the work that we do each day just to try and survive. I know it is. I do it. It's rough. I know when you're trying to figure out why that person brought a vape pen into school and smoked it right in front of your face, or shared it with a 12-year-old when it clearly was an awful thing to do, or why that teacher smacked that kid in the back of the head, why your friend is quitting teaching because they've lost their way. These are all things that weigh us down each day, not to mention our personal lives. So each week, here's what I'm challenging you to do. We're not going to be able to do that all in one bite. We cannot eat that metaphorical elephant all in one bite. So before you begin work this week, take Sunday and take a pen, a pad of paper, digital, take your iPhone and put it in notes or whatever you want to do. And each week choose one thing about school that is teaching, that we're teaching, or part of the students' lives, part of their school lives, and write down all the things that they are with the following questions. I want you to ask yourself, once you pick that thing, why exactly do I blank? Why do I do these things? Why do students do these things? What does the student gain by me doing this or them doing that? And if I stop doing this, what will the students be? Will the students be less engaged to enter this world creatively and openly? And stop there. Do that just for a week and come back. I get it. We don't have time to go to the bathroom during school. How do we have time to do this kind of self-actualizing, philosophical self-surgery? I want to respect your time, so I made it once a week. We can do that for once a week. Just jot the things down and come back. Hey, welcome back. I assume you did all that. That was painful, wasn't it? It's like a month later. We're just jumping around temporally here. So you did this, and you began doing it. So you've questioned all these things. You are now Nietzsche's lion, attacking the dragon, whose scales are fortified with the powers of thou shalt. In each attack on the dragon, that was a questioning activity you were just doing for the last month. You are pulling off a thou shalt scale, the scale that has thou shalt written on it. Thou shalt belong to a team in the school. Thou shalt use chalk when you write. Thou shalt sit for 7 hours a day. Thou shalt go to a class that is either 50 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes, depending on how really innovatively creative you've become in the classroom. Keep attacking, right? When you find a scale that makes, and when you rip off that scale, you get to look at it, beat it up, and if you like that scale, if that scale makes sense to you once you've beaten it up, maybe it won't come off even. Maybe you have to leave it there. It's possible. Then do it. The point is you've challenged the thou shalt, found it essential and meaningful, and you leave that dragon, that scale on that dragon. Perhaps it's part of his dignity and it's required for him to exist. It was there for a reason. And for the sake of time, we're going to toy with these realities and say you did all this. You've challenged that dragon because we're running out of time. The scales are off. You've ripped every scale you possibly can off that dragon. Challenge the thou shalt. That camel's dead. The dragon is now defeated, and you stand triumphantly on the carcasses of two fine beasts, but they were holding you back. Now what? And here's where it gets darn tricky, because it's easy for you to do one of two things. You were a camel and you challenged that. You are now a lion. You've destroyed that dragon. You've ripped off the scales, left on the ones that are important, but you challenged it. And now you have a couple possibilities. One, you could be that crazy person in your school telling everyone that they've fallen prey to the matrix and they can't see things as they really should be. Yeah, you're Neo in this environment. So this is really, really an unhealthy place for you. You need to get moving. And you're likely to be drowned out by the sounds of sirens coming to pick you up anyway, putting that jacket and taking off. You need to go find Morpheus right now and tell him to take it back a notch. Dial it back, Morpheus. It's too much. Smile every once in a while, for God's sake. It's not that serious. You don't need to save the human race right now. You have to do you. You have to challenge you. You have to understand you. And that's enough for one person. If we looked at Csikszentmihalyi's work, if you can meme yourself in some way, if you've transcended, if you've challenged you, people are going to read it. They may make their own understanding of it, but you can change you and others simply by challenging what you know. Or here's the other option that could happen to you. You may have become an educational nihilist. And please stay clear. You're heading into Earth's orbit way too fast, and you're starting to burn up. I'm not liking your chances here. Soon you're going to find yourself wearing extra guy liner and telling everyone how stupid they are for accepting the nonsense around them. Transcend, you declare. You must understand what's happening. And you might find yourself screaming that transcend in the bathroom all by yourself. There will be looks, and good reason. Here's a good way to figure out if you've gone too far. Think of this. If you have aligned yourself with someone who shares your educational nihilist point of view, and they share thoughts like, hey, maybe, you know what would help things? Corporal punishment. If I could go back to smacking that kid, that'd be great. Or if they tell you that spending years on cursive is a really good way to really will the freedom of others and to really open up education, you need to run, my friend. Corporal punishment and cursive are not going to help us transcend. It's not going to help kids grow. We won't even get into them. I'm just telling you, you're in trouble. But we can help. Get out of that fetal position. We're coming here. We're coming to transcend. So to recap, really quickly, you realize that the most important things in life, possibly the most of the things you're doing, have been given to you by someone else. You were a camel. And keeping society efficient was what those things did. And it does work. Society is efficient. But now you've taken on the form of an educational lion, and you've slain the dragon with the scales of educational thou shalts. And now you stand on the carcasses of camels and dragons. Now what? Good view maybe, but not productive. Not productive in our lives. And now they suggest we have to take up a sacred yes. It's your turn to make meaning of this. You've stopped saying no to everything as you did as a lion. No was what you did. Ripping off thou shalts were just no's. I won't do that anymore. But now what do I do in place of it? Now you look at learners with eyes and say yes to how you can approach learning and growing. Remember our camels' lives? We were looking for meaning. When we were camels, we tried to find meaning from college, from parents, from schools, friends, government. But we're in charge of us now. We are fully affirming, and we are educators. You now know what is real and what has been prescribed. You've accepted those things that make sense, and you've thrown away the things that are not. You may have chosen to keep a lot of those weights that you had as a camel. They make sense now, and that's fair enough. You get to keep them because you've actually gone through the process. And now you have to set ambitious goals for you and for those you care for. And when you think you're getting close to those goals, guess what? Get a bigger one. If you have a destination, you should actually plan on not having a destination. But if you do get to a destination, here's the bad news. You've de-transcended. You've untranscended. You've back-transcended. I don't think there's a word for this. You've fallen back into your camel teacher state or your lion teacher state. Get out. Start questioning again. So yeah, this journey is frustrating. It's uncomfortable. It's alienating. Being the over teacher, the uber teacher, the super teacher, whatever it is you call yourself, is a process. And in that process, meaning will be found one way or another. Good luck. Please share your journey with us and any comments you have. Thanks for listening.